I'm Deanna. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. Tonight I'm looking at some of the rugs that I found over the various Facebook groups on social media. The rug review, we say weekly rug review, but you know I rarely do this weekly. I'm catching up a little bit, but I found some beautiful rugs in the last couple of weeks. So let's look at some of those together now.
Okay, I think I am sharing my screen with you. Let me get out of that capture. So this first rug is coming from Ingrid Balcombe, and this was posted in the Contemporary Rug Hooking group, one of the larger groups. This is a great group. There's a lot going on here. And she writes, just finished my third piece. Started late summer rug hooking, added my own touch with Mackenzie Childs on the corners of the Samari plate. I am proud of it, but it doesn't compare to all the gorgeous rugs. I'm not even going to read that part because I love this so much. I think this compares to anything. This is a beautiful rug, Ingrid. This is just gorgeous, and it got a lot of great comments that were well deserved. This is so different. I'm just going to click on it to get a little bit closer to it. It's so different. It is a really beautiful design. I'm going to show you where you can buy this pattern if you love it. But it is so unexpected. When you see a plate design like this, you expect to see like a Dresden or a Delft color palette, a willow color palette, like blue, flow blue, 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 blue. But this is so different. You're seeing a little bit of blue, but you're seeing a very realistic background with the rocks very well depicted, the trees leaning in, the little sort of, what do you call those kinds of buildings? It'll come to me in 3 seconds. But I mean, it's a very, very colorful plate, unexpected. And I do love the background. I love the Mackenzie Childs. I'm going to define that in a minute for those of you that don't know that designer, but this is just really different. The color palette is completely different. I love that the center of the plate is very colorful. There's a lot of horizontal hooking behind the building and the trees, and it has a lot of sort of moodiness going on. You do get that Asian feeling, scrubby, brushy tree feeling, but you're getting so much color. It confuses you to the point of being interesting, if you see what I mean. It's not a willow, and I'm so glad it's not a willow. It's got such a punch to it. The flowers are so well figured. The colors are great. Very unexpected. Nice outlining here, if you can see my arrow. Nice shading of flowers, nice outlining, nice choice of colors. Look how many greens are here. Like a celery green, a moss green, a sort of sage green. There's at least 4 greens in here just in the border. Very well done. The center is much more realistic and the border is much more graphic. So this is just, Ingrid, this is so well done for a 3rd piece, a 10th piece, a 100th piece, and it belongs on any page. Now, I want to show you what she means by Mackenzie Childs. If you don't know Mackenzie Childs, she's a designer that we will define here. Mackenzie Childs is a manufacturer of ceramics and retailer of hand-painted furniture, home decor, based in Aurora, New York, founded 1983. But more importantly, let's look at what her stuff looks like, because that's going to give you more of an idea of what her style is. So you're seeing a lot of very graphic checkerboard and stripe, black and white. It's really colorful. It's really eye-catching. But this is the style. She also does rugs. Let me just add rug to this, because her rugs, when they pop up on eBay, are exceptionally expensive. This is one here that's been up recently. That's not too bad, $175. But you can see they're very colorful. They have a mix of sort of realistic floral, or at least very colorful graphic floral, and like either checkerboard or stripe. That seems to be her most common motif. So this is what Mackenzie Childs looks like. So you can see what Ingrid means here. She did the plate so beautifully, and instead of leaving it round, she boxed it out into a square with the black and white stripes, and that's why she says she gave it her own sort of Mackenzie Childs touch, and it works so beautifully. There is something so perfect about this composition with the very realistic center, the sort of graphic frame to the plate, and then the Mackenzie Childs sort of stripy boxing out of the square. It's perfect. I think it's absolutely perfect. It's got 3 layers of interest. Your eye just travels and travels around. Ingrid, you did a wonderful job. I'm very glad you posted it, and I hope you post everything that you do. Now, this is where the pattern comes from. It's Honey Beehive, and this is rughook.com. Honeybee, you can either do Honey Beehive or rughook.com, and this is the pattern number. If you're looking at my screen, $68. This is exactly the same pattern. You can see that it's by Pearl and Jane McGowan Flynn. It's a circle, but you could see that Ingrid and you too could box it out, and it was a wonderful idea to box it out. It's different than Ingrid hooked it, which is exactly how life should be. You should not hook it exactly the way that you see it. This is a pretty design, but the one that we just saw was even prettier. Thank you so much, Ingrid. So let's look at this next post that was in Sharing the Love of Rug Hooking. This was posted by Robin Chytrek Stewart. At least I got the Stewart right, Robin? That's a toughie. This is a gorgeous rug. I'm going to click on this to get a little bit closer to. She writes, finish this rug. It's called Antique Running Rooster from Pine Island Primitives. So let's just look at this a little bit close up because this is just extraordinary. I love, people commented on quite a few things about this rug. One of them, as you can imagine, was the background, and another was the border. The background is this mix of antique black with browns. It's more than perfect. It's the movement that the background gives this. The design is fantastic, and we're going to look at the designer in a minute. But the design, as strong as it is, would not look this good without the background looking the way that it does. You can see that she didn't just sort of do halos, concentric circles around and around and around. She's done shapes within, and there's boxy squares, there's irregular shapes, there's sort of wavy flows. And then the border is made up of beautiful multicolored fabric. In fact, somebody asked in the thread, I love the border. Did you use one plaid or several different ones? And she answered that she used one. And it just came out that great, the reddish border. And of course, the boxes on the corners, typical primitive design, beautiful. Two things that stood out to me besides the border and the background, the legs. You see this? I mean, it's like a black and white material. It's absolutely perfect. It gives you that sort of European hen look, that black and white spotty look. And the wing is just over the top, and the tail as well, but the wing, the way it moves from the red to the sort of mossy color into the white is just, it's so striking. I love the use of the green rather than black to define each sort of feather shape. It does so much for it. There is black in this composition. There's antique black in the background. There's the spotted material in the corners, in the legs, in the throat. So black could have been introduced to it, but I'm very glad that black wasn't introduced to it because this is so much more interesting, unpredictable, and unexpected than going for a black outline. This works so well. It's also very unexpected to use this sort of brown color, this medium brown gray color as the body, and to also see it again in the background. If you are not masterful and amazing and intuitive, this doesn't work. In this case, for Robin, it works like a charm. It is so perfect. Again, I'm so glad that a different color was not introduced because the rooster being that color and matching the background so well, it doesn't look matchy-match. It weirdly stands out even more because you're looking at that wing, you're looking at the tail, you're looking at the really well-defined head, and it gives you a perfect idea of the shape of the body. It's, again, the pattern is astonishingly good. The design of the rooster is astonishingly good. It's typical primitive. It's really unrealistic, and that's what makes it great. But the hooking in this is just, it's crazy how good it is. And you can even see in the border, there's some directional hooking in here. She's done so much with directional hooking in the background. And then again, the border, you're seeing like a sort of triangle-y design, which is completely different than the fluid organic designs behind the rooster in the background. Very, very different. Lots of color, lots of lines, lots of different lines, and yet nothing is competing with each other within this one composition. Nothing is competing in a negative way. Everything is serving to enhance everything else about it. The colors are great, the movement is great, the design is great. It's fantastic. Robin, it's incredibly great. Now, this design is from Pine Island Primitives. So this is their site, pineislandprimitives.com. It says click here to enter. This is a beautiful site. I know I've shown this before. Welcome, lots of information, what's new about us. And then you can click on rug hooking, You can click on a number of things in the margin you can see, but there's animals, seasonal fruits. Let's look at animals. Maybe we'll see rooster come up. This is a site, we've again looked at this before, but they do primitives so well. Really, really great designs. Sally Kalin is who's doing the designing for this company. So her name will be synonymous with Pine Island Primitives. Just gorgeous, gorgeous designs. You cannot go wrong with these. I love the game elements, the game board elements that are in so many of these designs. Okay, so that's Tracy's pheasant. That's a lot like it, but it's not the running rooster. It's similar. There we go. There's running rooster right here. He just looks so different. He looks beautiful there too, but I just love Robin's rooster. I just love it. It's a great pattern. Absolutely beautiful. Really well done, Robin. And if you're interested, Pine Island Primitives. Now, this is another great one, Rug Punchers and Projects, Janet Mason. She writes, designed by me. We had such a funny conversation after this post. Designed by me, used a Susan Burr rug hooking machine that really punches. It's an 1800s punching tool, photoed on the right. I didn't pull up the picture of it as the head and photo of the group. Okay, so this is one of these old 100% wool, 1/4-inch hand cut wool strips. So this is one of these machines that has the side-to-side motion. You should really do it vertically and not horizontally, not in a tabletop position, but standing up like you're an artist painting an easel. The punching machine works best that way. I've demonstrated it on Coffee Time. And I said to Janet, you are a better woman than I, because when I demonstrated it for 5 minutes on Coffee Time in the morning, I thought that I needed physical therapy. My entire body was racked with pain, like I'd used muscles I'd never used in my life, or intended to, or should have. And she said same thing for her. She was like in so much pain after she did this, but you know, it does work. The tool itself travels sort of side to side. You have to control it fairly carefully. It goes fast, you know, you start going and it goes pretty fast. You get some good momentum going. It does a nice even job. It is physically very taxing on your body to use. That's why we use different tools for the most part now. But it is fun to use an old sort of historic tool of the trade. It is fun and it does work. You cannot, Janet and I were comparing notes, you really cannot get detail with these kinds of early tools. They don't give you the opportunity for a lot of detail, but you do have the chance to stop and hand hook part of it, or if you're punching, to flip and do a little hooking in key areas where you need a bit more definition. But in terms of this composition, designed by Janet, it's just gorgeous. It's so different. This is a one-off. She had a shop and she closed the shop. There's no more designs coming out. This is something that we can admire, but it's not available. So we can consider this a one-off, a masterpiece that really should be in a museum. I really love it, Janet. The color of the whiskers, the shape of the paws, very atomic looking cat. The colors in the body of the cat itself, these shapes, very 1950s cat, and then the crazy mod background with all of these mixed colors. These are not crazy colors. These are very traditional, primitive colors, but yet look at how they look. You do something different, like give a cat a crazy atomic shape and some corally red whiskers, and even though your colors palette is not nutty, it comes out looking so avant-garde, artsy, blingy, and different. You know, just a few touches with colors that you would not normally consider super different. In this context, it's over the top different. It's gorgeous. The design itself is extraordinary. I mean, it just is extraordinary. Beautiful background. I love the way it's cut up with shapes. It has a Van Gogh quality to it. There's a lot of sort of starburst going on in the background. The shape of the cat, the curl of the tail. He's delicate and yet he's pointy. Look at his ears, the way that they're balancing his feet. It's just so different. I can't think of anything that I've seen that looks anything like this. Also look at the different materials. You see this yarn here is very different than the other strips. So there's different materials in here, and that's adding to the interest of the texture. This is not a piece that has been like pressed within an inch of its life in the blocking process. This is a piece where the loops themselves are rising up and singing and moving and making waves and creating direction and action. It's a very, very kinetic piece. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's gorgeous. I say this all the time, but simple is hard. And to do something, a simple design like this well, is really hard. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's really finished off so nicely with the yellow. So simple, just so simple, but it's picking up on the bits of that golden yellow that are in the composition. It looks absolutely beautiful. Janet, I love it. You did a wonderful job. All right, now this piece is another great piece. These are all great pieces, of course. This popped up in a few groups, but I pulled it out of the Contemporary Rug Hooking group. And Jane Steele, who I buy from, I love checking out her website. This is another great pattern. So she did this pattern. She said it was actually her Rose Bush Lady pattern. So that's what it's actually called, that she'd already hooked and sold. And she thought she wanted to do it again, but she didn't want to repeat it exactly the same way. So she did it this time as Marie Antoinette, which I think is amazing. And she said this was an opportunity for her to use all these old brooches, all the old pins stuck into the hair. It does give you that amazing Restoration period costume look. And it is the way that the hair is broken up into sort of chambers, and with pins in each of the different chambers. It's so different. I've never seen anything like this. It is gorgeous. Now, Jane's company is called River House. And so if you Google River House, if you look at Facebook River House, you can find her there, or you can write to her at jane.riverhouse@gmail.com to order this pattern. She does a lot of beautiful wool, a lot of beautiful patterns. She's in Canada. I speak to her on the phone mostly when I order. It works really well, very fast, really different. And you can see with this piece that she's hooked the face. Maybe, I don't even know if it's a different cut. It looked like a smaller cut, but now I'm looking at it, it looks like it might be the same size cut. Just a lot of directional hooking and very different material in the hair, much softer sort of yarn material as opposed to the wool strips in the face. So it's a real contrast, very soft top, very blingy, pins in the soft top, and then a very structured face, very well articulated face. It's such a different piece, such a gorgeous piece. And again, if you're interested in this piece, you will either want to go on Facebook and check out River House, which is her rug hooking company in Canada, or write to her at jane.riverhouse, one word, @gmail.com. And this pattern is called Rosebush Lady, but I'm sure if you refer to it as Marie Antoinette, that she will understand that too. This is just an amazing piece. It's so different. And right before the holidays, Christmas, New Year, whatever you're celebrating, the bling of the holidays, this really speaks to that feeling. And who doesn't have a bunch of pins and shiny things laying around that this would be a perfect vehicle for? This is just absolutely beautiful, Jane. I love it. Another great piece that popped up, this is a multi-piece in Contemporary Rug Hooking Group. This was posted by Jill Katori, and she writes, my version of Hopi Indian images. I'm going to click on it because it's actually one piece, and it's got 4 different images within it. And you can see there's things like feathers. She's got sort of earring pieces here, tassel-y feathers. Most of it is hooked, but there are feathers in here. So let's look at it again. I think there's the 4 pieces. Yep, so it's these 4. This is so different. I had to pull it up because, first of all, this is a great time of year to be looking at Native American art, right before American Thanksgiving. Native American art is rarely represented in rug hooking. Pearl McGowan and Jane did a little bit of sort of ethnic Indian style, Native American Indian style stuff in the sort of 70s, 80s, 1970s, 80s, but you don't see a lot of it. And we know from talking on Coffee Time, I spoke a lot about Helen Albee doing her version of Abenaki rugs and that kind of thing. But, it's so nice to see somebody contemporary, an artist like Jill, hooking your own version of Native American designs, because we are seeing sort of totem type characters. We're seeing faces, right? Faces with jewelry, lots of colors, lots of symbolism, very traditional colors, but more than just the basic natural dye colors that you would expect to find. There's a lot more going on here with color. Let's look at these others one more time. This face is gorgeous. but I like all of them. It's worth spending time looking at all of them. You know, the backgrounds are interesting too. Jill dropped in not just solid backgrounds or shapes, you know, patterned backgrounds. This is like a beautiful sky. This could be like Little Bighorn or something, you know, like the fields there with the sage-colored grass, brushy grass, and then a nice path. Beautiful composition in and of itself, beautiful composition. Another beautiful composition here, this face sort of framed in a shape that has a stained glass quality to it. It's radiating light. I know it's feathers, but it looks like the sun. And look at the beautiful markings on the face, right? Like the paint on the face. Absolutely beautiful. It's really the things that you played up and the things that you chose to play down make a beautiful balance. You haven't overdone the detail of the face, and you've saved a lot of color and detail for other things like the feather, the headdress, the paint on the face, the little bits of bling that you put in. Beautiful color changing background. The blue underneath is just gorgeous. If you had done everything really well articulated, I think all of it would have gotten lost. But you chose to keep some simple and you popped other parts. And that worked, you know, that balance really worked. This is like a beautiful symbol too. I know it's like the bird character. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but just the positioning of adding the feathers and things, and then the feathers coming out the back. The background too, the way that it's hooked is very experimental and really successful, but it still maintains a sort of tribal ethnic kind of a look. It's very, very different. Such a different piece. I have not seen anything like this. Of the historic Native American hook drug art that I've seen, I haven't seen anything like this. It's so different. Again, the colors are gorgeous. I don't know who wouldn't love this palette. It's really thoughtful, and it's a really nice tribute. It's beautiful, Jill. Really, really well done. Okay, now this next piece also gorgeous. I'm going to get my notifications because I'm live. I stay live so we can visit sites and check out patterns and things. This was posted in rug hooking. Now what is, that doesn't sound right, does that? I'll have to check. I thought this was sharing the love of rug hooking, this group. This is Joan Balert. I know I killed that, Joan. Did I kill it? Balert. I'm so sorry, Joan. I am not good with beautiful names like this, apparently. My brain is dead at this time of night, but this is a gorgeous piece. We went back and forth with this a little bit. I want to read what she wrote because it's beautiful. It says, "Lo, the angel of the Lord." And it says, Judy Privet, 29 by 24, that's the measurement. The angels depict family members who have passed that I was very close to. I will hang in my bedroom. The idea of the angels and family members I borrowed from Colleen Mox, who was color planning this rug about 3 to 4 years ago. I couldn't get it out. I couldn't get it off my mind, and finally got the pattern and hooked it. And I'm really glad you did. This is so pretty. Again, especially at this time of year, you know, the angels in the sky representing family members who have passed. All the stars in the sky too, that could mean something else. The beautiful large star, like the North Star, right? The one true and constant star. The scene down below with the shepherd and the sheep. Lots of beautiful religious undertones that are eternal and gorgeous any time of the year. The colors are so peaceful and so mellow. Earth colors, right? You've got all the earth colors down on the earth, and then in the sky you have these little glowing hints of blue and a sort of aerial sky cloudy colors. It pops. I love how you carried the brown colors into the wings instead of doing something really gossamer and bright and blingy. I love how the angels still have this earthy quality because their color really mimics the earth. So it is like they are angels, but they are, you know, they're the people that you're thinking about. I love how I'm guessing that each person is a specific person that you're thinking about. One of them seems to have possibly a book here, maybe singing. That's the impression I got anyway. It could just be the play of shapes, but so simple, right? It's just so simple. Simple is hard, but you know, the color, keeping it dark and really simple in the top really lets the angels be the centerpiece for this. And having the bottom, which is quite busy, including a bit of proddy with the grass, in the colors that you chose, it keeps it sort of under control. The ground is busy. It has its own story happening down below, but the real story is in the sky with the angels. And I just think that them being there in a cluster is just absolutely beautiful and perfect. I can understand why this pattern was on your mind for a few years, and I'm very glad that you finally got it and hooked it, because this is a great tribute to people who you're thinking about, and this is a great way to think about those people. This is really a beautiful piece. So what did she say? It was by Judy Privet. So if you're looking for this pattern, look for Judy Privet on Facebook. And she said specifically, Joan said, if you're going to send her a message about this pattern, or you need to get in touch with her, when you Google Judy Privet, which is Privet, her profile picture is the one with the horse jumping over a hurdle. Okay, because there's several people by the same name. So if you find Judy Privet and it's the horse jumping over the hurdle, then you know that's her, and this is her design, and I bet you she's got a lot more gorgeous designs out there. But Joan, this one is just beautiful. It's literally beautiful. The way that it feels to look at it, the meaning behind it, it's absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful family piece. I'll always remember this piece. It'll be in my head too. You did a beautiful job. This next one, also posted in the Contemporary Rug Hooking group by Kelly Jenkins. I can't believe this. You're not going to believe this either. Brace yourself. I hope you're sitting down. Kelly Jenkins, I was really overwhelmed with this 24 by 36 inch piece, considering it was my first, but it ended up being a lot of fun. So happy my cousin got me started and encouraged me along the way. So I'm going to pull this up a little bit closer. So this is her first piece. People were amazed that this is Kelly's first piece. What to say about this? First of all, this is a Cushing pattern. So if you're, this is like an old postcard type image. You can find this at Cushing. Kelly, this is just amazing. I mean, look at the thing that gets me about this, because I love color. I love the color of the sky, like the beautiful sunset or early morning color. And I really love the color of the toys behind Santa. Something like this, it's a busy composition. It could have gotten too busy. All the prettiness and fun and all the little sort of jokes in it with the doll and the things that are kind of hanging over and falling out could have been lost, but they're not lost because you did just the right amount with color. You did a lot with movement too, and you were very successful in what you did. The movement in the snow, and I don't just mean over here where she's got a lot of articulation, a lot of different light and shadow falling on the snow, but you really grounded the hillside movement here, the up and down movement of the hill. You really grounded it with the horizontal across, and then you even did something over here that really looks like the shadow of the horse. Like underneath the horse's body, it should be darker again. And the fact that it is looks very realistic. I like how you kept it simpler, right to the side of Santa. Your eye comes in like you're reading a book, and you see the sky and the trees, and you read across the Santa, and then your eye will come down and catch the other things. Your eye is going to move like a Z, like this, right? Which is one of the composition ideas that you always want. The sky for me grabs me first, and that's because of what Kelly did. That's not because of what the postcard did or what the pattern did. The sky grabs you. It's right up there. For my eye, I read it first, even before Santa in the red coat. I read it first because it's so different. I love how there are more than one color of like this corally pink sunset or sunrise color. If there was just one, there would be just one. But the fact that there's two, it almost looks icy and frosty, like there's something glowing in the sky. It's a very successful sky. I really, really love it. I love the simple details that you put on the tree. You didn't go nuts with shading, and it's good that you didn't, because if this is supposed to be morning or evening, there wouldn't be a lot of detail on the tree because there wouldn't be a lot of light shining on the tree. It looks like there's little bits of snow clumped to the tree, kind of stuck in the little pockets of the tree. It could be just flashes of light, but you kept it simple and graphic, which is right for this piece. The things that you chose to really articulate in terms of outlining and defining, like the toys, the sleigh around his foot, the parts that are quite hard to see. Something like an antique sleigh is not something that we're used to seeing nowadays. It's hard for the eye to recognize it immediately, but the way that you've outlined it, the way that you've colored it, even the 2 bars of green sort of shaping the sides where the molding would be, the scroll that you put into it, the fancy woodwork, it really helps your eye recognize what it is immediately. And the toys, as I say, that could have gotten lost in the shuffle because it's a lot of action, you've chosen really different colors, bright orange, bright blue, right next to each other, complementary colors. They're not going to bleed into one shape. The purple right next to that, perfect against the purple. Everything is very, very distinct and different. You did a great job with color of popping it all. And the fact that there's so many colors concentrated in this one area is fun. And it's supposed to be fun. That's the toys. That's the part that's fun. That's the part that should be wildly colorful, and it is. And you did good stuff here with Santa's coat, the directional hooking on the coat, and then you've got the darker cuff and you've got the darker lap, either the shadow or he's got a blanket over his lap, but his lap is darker. It looks good. Keeping it dark down by his feet, keeping it dark around the horse, keeping it dark on the cuff, putting this dark bit behind his head really pops the shape of his beard and defines his coat. The hat as well has got nice little bling that looks like holly on it, but it's got interest, so it doesn't look like a boring old hat, but it's not distracting, and it's actually picking up the green that's here too. So you've got a lot going on that's great. You're either an incredible natural at hooking and color and design, or an artist already. Something is going on here that is incredibly intuitive. I think what you've done with color and what you've done with hooking, what you've chosen to outline and make graphic, or versus what you've chosen to shade, they're all good choices. And it's nice that you've got a lot of different choices going on because it keeps it interesting. This is not a boring piece. This is a large piece. This is a hard first piece and a hugely successful piece. And I have to say, for all the times that I've heard people say, when you start with a really simple piece, really simple, boring type piece. And I have never felt that to be true. I feel like if you are really interested in this as a craft and you are ready to throw yourself into it, pick something that you really love and want to look at for a while rather than something super simple. If you love it, you are going to persevere and you will probably succeed. You might not have as good of a chance succeeding if you're hooking some small piece that has no appeal and resonates with you not at all. Choosing something larger that resonates with you a lot, I think you have a much better chance of becoming invested. And within even one first piece, as you can see, you get so much practice that you can go pro on your first piece, because that's what Kelly's done. This is just absolutely gorgeous. Fantastic. It's a home run. I love it. If I saw this hanging in a store, I would go out of my mind. I absolutely love the colors. I love everything about it. Great job. This is another beautiful piece. This one got so much attention. I saw this posted in my group, which is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club on Facebook. This is so different. Pamela Mansfield Conley. She says, no particular design, just doing whatever, whenever, and whatever. Example, flannel t-shirt, cotton, wool. She mixes all kinds of stuff. And she says, I believe it'll make a nice stool cover or something. It would make a nice anything. It is so different and it's so fun, and it got so many comments. People were just loving the breaking the rules. I love it too. I love using different materials. I am not a huge fan of everything being perfect. I like when people use different things in the same piece, different cuts, different materials. It creates interest. And hooking as you go is like the Zentangle doodling of hooking. When you do something like this, whether you call it a hit or a miss or a scrap or whatever, it's art. This is proper modern art. I don't want to classify it as anything. I think saying that you're doing whatever, whenever is exactly right. People, respond to this rug by saying, I'm going to do something just like this. I'm going to sit down and do whatever, whenever, because it's very liberating to not have a plan. And you can see that as you go, you add colors here or there. It's instinctive. You go on emotion. You go 100% on instinct. And as you go, you can see things shaping up and you make decisions and you change your mind. And you probably don't pull anything out of a composition like this. You just keep going and building. And as you do, you get a beautiful, unique pattern, and it really glows. You're going to choose the colors that you like because they're the colors that you have. And when you do, you're going to end up with a piece that you really love because you've done shapes that are interesting for you in colors that you love. So it really can't miss. It's such a different piece. Everybody should take some time out when you get a chance and get away from really formal and traditional patterns and do something like this. For some people, it will be so freeing and feel wonderful. For other people, it probably would be really challenging and difficult because you'd be looking for cues like, what's the next line? Where's the color change coming? And there is none. You just go with the flow, whatever, whenever. So maybe it isn't for everybody, but I think it's something that should be tried by everybody because you never know what's in you, right, until you get started. I just love to see this kind of spontaneous work, not just in terms of color, which I love these colors, but just the idea of letting yourself go and letting it flow and seeing where it leads you, because it's the story of the time that you were sitting there with this piece. And you know the story. I don't know the story. I'm seeing a version of the story by looking at the piece. You know the rest of the story, what your thoughts were, what the weather was, what you were looking at, where you went that afternoon, where you came from that morning. All of that is part of this rug, and that's what makes it mysterious and interesting, certainly unique in a beautiful way. It really shimmers and glows and buzzes, and I absolutely love it. It's so different. It was an inspiration to a lot of people, so hopefully some new people are seeing it now and also being inspired. Pamela, it's beautiful. This is another really different piece. This was also posted on my page, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. This is so different that I had to, I don't know why I'm getting such a thread over there. I'm sorry about that. Maybe I can, let me see if I can refresh this page. This is so different. There we go. Sorry. Amilka posted this. I'm going to show you where you can find her. I forget what country you are. I wish I would have written it down. Oh, Krakow, Poland. She's working on this. This is a work in progress. But I looked at it and I thought, wow, this is what we need to be thinking about, right? Because in my group, there's lots of people who like to break the rules, renegades, people who want to try something different, break the mold a little bit. And this is a great example of that. So Amilka is working off of like a canvas type frame, like, stretcher bars that you can get at the art store. In any size combination, squares, rectangles. You pick the stretchers and you put it together, or they put it together. And she stretched a piece of burlap or hessian over it. And she's doing some experimenting with a lot of different stitches. This looks like a lot of punch. There could be definitely some hooking in here. There's some tufting, right? The long tufting looks almost like macrame. Beautiful soft yarns, which are probably hooked. But then there's like longer loops, again, which I think are probably hooked. I think they must be hooked because they're pulled quite high up, unless that's a very tall punch pile. But this could be a combination of hooking and punching, and it's like a sampler of what we do, hooking and punching. Looking at it with the different colors, the limited range, the blues and the turquoises with the white, it keeps it under control. It has a shape, right? We're looking at a specific palette. But what we're looking at within that palette is a lot of different design elements, a lot of experimentation, a true sampler, a true hooking, punching sampler. We know what samplers look like done in cross stitch and needlepoint and things like that, but this is a proper sampler for a puncher or hooker. When you look at something like this and you say, I like the long fringe, I like the sort of tufting. We talk about Waldoboro, and we have a name for every little fancy thing that can be done. But there are so many things in between. There's a million things in between. Knots of different lengths, knots of varying lengths, low pile, high pile, loops, so, the soft loops, like the blue cloudy loops, just done in fancy fiber or looser textile. There's so much going on here. It reminded me how good it is to experiment. Just like the one before we looked at of Pamela's, it's so important to experiment and see what you like, because if you don't try different things once in a while, just for the sake of seeing, you don't know. And once you find something, you strike on something that really resonates with you, you might incorporate that more into your work. Even if it's just a different kind of a stitch or a different height of a loop, it might be something that becomes your signature thing that means a lot to your work or brings you to the next step of your style. So doing this kind of experimentation is really healthy. Milka, I really love this. I'm glad you posted it, and I just want to show your page. She's on Facebook. Again, she's in Krakow, Poland. She does a lot of stuff. She has a business going with like kid stuff, animals, soft textile stuff, but you can check her out. It's a very cool Facebook page. I'm going to like it. I thought I already did. Sorry. I am now Pooka, Pooka. So I'm really anxious to see, with all of the experimenting that you're doing, Emilka, I'm really anxious to see what you do next. And I hope you remember to post. Oh, Christine, you know I love you and everything that you do. I really love squirrel. This is one of these. This was off my page, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. This is one of the sweater kits that we're doing. We've been hot into sweaters lately, thinking of things, we were going into the fall when we started this 2020, thinking of things we could pick up at charity stores like sweaters or old sweaters with moth holes. That we were cutting up with scissors and, running through our bliss cutters and all that. And I put together some sweater kits, 4 different designs. And this one was called Scatter Joy, with the squirrel and the oak leaves and the little acorns scatter pattern all over the place. And I put in tons of different sweater materials, colors, and it was kind of up to the person to choose what they were going to do with the colors. And as I see them being finished up now, in record time, because the sweaters hook really quickly, really soft, really cushy, really quick hooking. They stretch so well and they go a lot further than traditional milled wool because they stretch so much. You usually get about a quarter into the surface area with every piece of yarn wool that you use. It makes about a quarter once it's hooked. With the sweaters, it makes a lot more because there's so much stretch to it. Christine, you did such a gorgeous job. I love what you did with the squirrel. She has a story here that I'll tell because she's written it right on the side. I wouldn't tell if it was a secret. But you've done a lot with movement in the background. I put in a lot of colors, and the idea was to do what you felt was right. It was right to outline the leaves. It was right to outline the acorns. It looks so great. It looks so Art Deco. The colors too. I mean, it's the colors that you chose, because I know there were more colors in there. You could have done anything. But I mean, it's so Art Deco the way it's outlined. And I love how with the sweater, with the different heights, of the loops, because they're all really stretchy knits, I love how some of the lines just disappear a little bit in the background, like an old-time woodcut, right? That's what makes it look so deco. It looks like a woodcut. I love how you put the white and the lighter colors back there. You just scattered them in, scattered joy. You just scattered everything into the background. It looks amazing. And I love squirrel. I said to you, I love the way that you put some line detail where his arm would be. I love, you did a real good job here. He's got like a little nut or something he's holding up, but you put a nice piece of green behind to really define the shape of his throat and his arm. And I love this line of the bluey lavender around the leg. It really pops it. He looks mysterious. He looks like he is in a fall wilderness. He looks like he's in the middle of going crazy, running between leaves to collect the acorns. You did a really nice thing with putting the red in the eye. I just assumed that you would put the background color in the eye. I assumed that with all of the squirrel, the scattered joys that I put out. And I like it so much that you didn't do that. He doesn't look hollow because he has that same color in the background. You gave him one of the other colors and it looks so different and unexpected. And I said in the thread, I just want to be sure with the tail that you didn't run out of the black, that I gave you enough black, because when I shortchange people with stuff because I'm in a constant state of confusion and chaos, I always send it at my own expense more, because I hate it when I do that kind of stupid thing. But she wrote in the thread, know that she changed his color of his tail to that lighter lavender color on purpose. And she said it was because, let me see if I can find what she wrote. She said there's an actual squirrel in the backyard. There it is. I watch the squirrels as they tease my pup and find them cute in spite of their cheeky ways. And she was talking, maybe it was on her thread, but she said there's one squirrel in particular in the backyard that has a much lighter tail than his body. So she did this as kind of a joke, and her family liked it too, that it looked like the one squirrel in the back with the dark body and the light tail. He's the biggest tease, I guess. But I think this just came out amazing. I know you were saying you weren't sure about your acorns and stuff. I'm completely sure about your acorns. The way that they're outlined, they are good. They are solid. They are there. It really looks so Art Deco. I love the height of the pile. It's beautiful. I really love it. I hope you really love it. I really love it. Christine, you did a beautiful job. I love it, and I love you. So this next one, oh boy, I get a lot of notifications, huh? Contemporary rug hooking group. Now I know I look at Tad's stuff every chance I get because I just love his stuff. He's proper artist. Gnome and Friend Under Mushroom. I'm going to have to show you two because we couldn't decide which one to use. Gnome and Friend Under a Mushroom, punch needle 16 by 21. Let's look at this close up. This is just, I mean, Tad really is a proper graphic artist. He's got all of the tricks mastered. There is so much going on here. When you look at a design like this that appears to be simple, it's not simple. It's not simple at all. These are all his design. Let's just look at some of the elements that are making this work. This really dark tree, it's like a bar of color, right? Super modernist device here, putting that dark bar of color behind the thing that is the thing you want people to look at the most, right? The gnome is like the center of the composition. So he is starkly positioned against that dark graphic tree. Perfect. Look at the simple color change in his face. The expression on his face, super simple. And just the picking out with the black line of the sort of beard shape, the arm shape, very simple, very simple. Just the choice of where to outline. It's not everywhere, right? He hasn't outlined the entire face. He hasn't outlined around the hat. He hasn't outlined around the pom-pom on the hat. He hasn't done the hands. He's been very selective about what he's chosen, and as a result, it looks magical and impossibly tight. The dog next to him, again, if you were to do a dog, wouldn't you be tempted to put like little white eyeballs, a little pink nose, a lot more color and definition? Well, you can do that, but when you do that, you get away from this classic graphic, very, again, simple is really hard. When it's this simple and it looks this good, you know you're talking about someone who is a proper artist. There's nothing going wrong here. Even with the grass, you see there's at least 3 colors of grass here. There's 2 here, right? And the light is right against the sky, which works great. Then he's got much darker lines. It's bringing your eye right up. It's creating an effect of height, right? Which is perfect with this little gnome and the little gnome's dog. The mushroom is doing it, but the grass is doing it too. It's like impossible height surrounding this little creature. And then in the mushroom, look at the mushroom head, the amount of color change in there. It's like marbled. It's like marbled paper. And the spots being different colors too just adds interest. It just keeps your eye there looking for things like that. One of the unsung sort of things about this that doesn't hit you immediately is the shadow here. I mean, that's just unbelievable because that's so realistic. And this is not a realistic piece. But having something realistic like that, you know, when you have a simple design, you always run the risk of having a design that looks like, for example, a greeting card. This doesn't. It's so artsy, and it's because of all of these many touches that add to the composition. It's all thoughtful. It's all planned. It's all important, and it gives it the final look, which is a really polished and professional looking, very whimsical, very colorful graphic piece. To be able to use primary colors like this and get this much magic, you know, there's not neons, there's not pinks, there's not purples, there's not glitter, there's not crazy fancy fibers and textile stuff going on. It's primary colors and it's very straightforward, but it still manages to be insanely magical. Just look at the way that the grass line mirrors the grass behind it. So clever. And the way that the cloud back here is not a big fat puffy cloud. It's a very irregular cloud. So different. It's all character. The way that the tree is not quite straight but comes down at a little bit of a hook, a little bit of an angle. It's just, it's obviously instinctive and it's going really well. I love the white outline of the flower here too. Needless to say, Tad, I love it. It's another perfect piece. I mean, this is just such a good medium for you. And again, you know, to do something this successful, to be able to choose what things to pick, what things to pop, what things to let lay flat, what color to let lay flat. It's something that you have to build a feel for, or you just are born with it. I think for you, you're probably born with it, but also you've been doing art, you know, for a while, for a long time, and you're totally there. So everything, all your art is translating really well to punch. Sorry about all these notifications. And we pulled up this one too because he posted this one like a few minutes before I wrote and said, can I use the gnome? So I wanted to show both. Bathers by the Waterfall, again, punch needle 22 by 41. That's quite big. I didn't realize it was that big. Another beautiful piece. I love your nudes. I mean, I love nudes. I love nudes anyway. You have such different nudes too. I mean, sometimes I think about, you know, impressionist and post-impressionist painters when I look at nudes and shapes like this, but your shapes are not like anybody's shapes I've ever seen. I mean, they really aren't. I just love, there's like a bit of comedy to the sort of erotica to it. At the same time, it is so, everything is so well articulated. The simpleness of the bodies, right? The simpleness of the shapes of the bodies, and then look at the movement in the water, and look at the little flowers in the foreground, and look at the sort of camouflage quality of the woods behind the very sort of simple blonde hair. And then look at this riot of color right behind. You can see there's a waterfall coming down here. It's like heaven. And then a riot of color back here. And then getting away from the primary colors, here you are using colors that are a little bit different, mid-ground, medium colors, purples, lilacs, things that border on rose and madder, orange, you know, a lot of medium colors that you don't always use. Different, really different, still magic. And again, the interest with Tad's work is always looking at the shapes. Everything is so unexpected. It looks like this is the sun coming up or going down behind the hill, but the movement of the waterfall, the patterning of, you know, the flowers or the hillside behind, and then the different patterning off to the side, the traveling that your eye does within all of these pieces is just exciting. It is like a vacation. A lot of people said, you know, this is like being on a vacation. Everything is so dull and gray and bleak right now. This is just takes you away. The shape of the tree too. It's like a northern tree, but it has a palm quality to it. It's so, everything is so alien looking. It's magical. It's a fantasy world. It's so different. It's such a distinct style. I love this too, Tad. I'm glad you posted this too. I love the different colors now, and it makes me wonder what you're going to be doing next, which I'm sure you're already working on. I'm curious to see what the next colors are, but yeah, the shapes, the shapes. If you were to look at this as a pattern, right, just drawn with none of the colors, none of the patterning, none of the movement, none of the detail, just the shapes, you'd probably look at it and say, how am I ever going to bring that to life? It's got such simple shapes. But then, you know, look at it, it's completely alive. There's color and pattern all over the place. Nothing is competing with anything else. It is perfectly balanced. I love the white waves around the woman's bottom. I love the way it's coming down and splashing her, like right where she's entering the water there. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's proper art. I love it, Dad. Awesome. Now, oh boy, I saw this pop up and I jumped on it right away. Sharing the love of rug hooking. Susan Vogler Gordon. I have two of yours in a row. I did two of Tad. I'm going to do two of yours. Oh man, you know, it's like going from one thing to a next in these shows. It's just, there's so many good rugs out there. Super primitive, right? So completely different style. This is a work in progress. She says, I'm slowly getting there. This is larger than normal rug for me. It's taken me almost 7 months, not full time, and I still love this pattern. It was a kit I got from Northwest Folk Design on Etsy. I'm going to take you there in just a minute. She also has a Facebook group. Oh God, you know, I think we all love primitives, or most of us love primitives. It's just, it's the heritage, it's the background, it's the origin of the craft. But you know what? This design as a primitive is, number one, so different. And again, we're going to look at the design. We're going to look at where she got it from. But the colors. I mean, this is like, God, it's like a little Santa Fe. It's a little bit of like an ice cream parlor. It's got grays. It's got pastels. It's got like tea rose. It's just, I love the colors. I love the colors. This pattern is called Prairie Rose 2020. I absolutely love it. And don't you love the simpleness of this vase? There are 3 hearts in the vase. There are 4 hearts in the corners. And we've got these elongated lamb tongue, the border going around the edges. And look at this background. Look at this background. It's got the blues. It's got the grays. It's got sort of a cream, a grayish cream. It's got a little bit of the tea rose. It's so simple. Again, like Tad's, same thing as the last rug, as this one. If you looked at this as just a pattern, you would be thinking, how do you get from here to this, where we are with Susan here with this kind of color? And again, it's got to be instinct. You've got to be great with color to get from point A to point B. This is such huge success. One of the things that I especially love about it is how each flower, if you can see my cursor, has many colors in it. I mean, that is, you know, when we talk about shaded flowers like Pearl McGowan type flowers, you always have very expected shading from light to dark, right? It goes like almost photographic realism, light to dark. When you look at a flower like this or like this, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, possibly 11 colors in it, that's extraordinary because it's done in a very graphic color placement. It's not done in a realism way, and I think this is very appropriate, the most appropriate treatment with primitive rugs. It's what makes it look amazing. Having that many colors makes it exciting. Placing them that way makes it interesting. This one above it too, using a lot of the lighter colors, it's different in each flower, but the same types of colors. So you're getting the repetition, you're getting enough repetition for your eye to immediately read all of the flowers as flowers. But then I love how in the leaves you've got these really warm olive gold colors. I would never myself think of putting like olivey golds next to like tea rose colors. And now I'm going to be thinking about it night and day because it goes so well together. I would never have thought so. And I just cannot believe how much these leaves stand out in this design because of the background color, because of the grays, and because of all of those pinks. They're going well, so well together. We're seeing like the whole palette in the border. It looks like a collection of swatches. It's so yummy. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I would love this design, but Susan, I don't think I can get it because I want it to be exactly like yours. I would be the ultimate copycat because I would want every single part of it to be exactly the same colors. I just love this so much. It's so, again, simple is hard. Look at the vase. Look at the hearts within the vase, and look at the background. She hasn't done anything particular with directional hooking. She's just hooking, and the colors are changing subtly as it goes. It couldn't be any better than that. I'm so glad that it's not liney. It just looks so good in watercolory the way that it is. The way that it's coming out is perfectly right. You must have an incredible instinct for this because it looks amazing. I just absolutely, I love this. I can't wait to see it finished, but I already love it. So there's nothing else that could happen that would make me love it even more because I couldn't love it any more than I do right now. It's beautiful. And this is another one that she posted, also in sharing the love of rug hooking. Sorry about that. So again, Susan posted Meet Halo, another kit I got off Etsy from Northwest Folk Design. I used 2 strands of worsted weight superwash wool yarn and did a crochet binding. I like the texture it adds and it's super easy to do. Well, that is really interesting because that is a fantastic finish. I just love this piece too. He has that little bit of an Easter feel, but again, Susan, your colors are the best. I just love them. It is like gray with an ice cream palette. These are my favorite colors. I love gray. You know, gray with pastels is very 1920s, 1930s palette. It's a great design. We're going to look at the designs in a minute. But I mean, if you look at the shape of the rabbit's ears, right? Fantastic character in that. Again, just like Tad's thing, the face, just little lip blops of color, and it gives such expression. You know, he looks like he's very shy and demure. He's looking down a little bit. Look at the little bit of white in the leg. It brings you right down just enough to suggest his position. That little cottontail right there, just a little bit. It's not big and fat and round. It's not overdone. It's just gorgeous. The shape of his little body is so attractive. He looks almost like a little stuffed toy, but he looks more real than a stuffed toy. And then the flowers around the edge are very simple, but again, changes of color. This yellow is different than this yellow. This green's different than this green's different than this green. Maybe these two, but I mean, colors next to each other are very different. Bright, would you put this bright or dark sort of russet orange in with the yellow with all of these pastels? I would not have thought to do that, but Susan thought to do that. And it's I think that's the thing that makes it pop. I think that is, if I had to choose one thing, it's the placement of those orange centers that makes everything pop. And again, you've got that sort of warm olivey color in the leaves and behind. It's really pulling warmth out of the gray. The gray can be so flat, but it's not flat here. There are so many warm colors worked into the gray and around the gray. Having that ring of bright, happy colors in front of the gray is it's just a complete home run. It's making the gray look better, and the gray is making the pastels look better. It's all bouncing off each other with huge success. It's like a racquetball, just boom, 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 boom. I love the shape of the flowers on the side too. Absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Even the shape of the rug is so soft and sweet, beautiful, perfect little golden rectangle shape there. So let's look at where these amazing patterns are coming from. Etsy store, Northwest Folk Design, one word. And I haven't been here yet. Mario Taylor, maybe I have been here. You know what? I think I have been here. I think I was ogling because I thought, wow, look at these primitive designs. These are over the top, crazy, amazing, beautiful. And yeah, they are. So you're going to want to come here. These are going to be a lot of good designs. Let's see the categories. Small patterns, medium, large, PDF patterns, punch PDF patterns, kits, hooking tools, hooking bundles. Let's see what she's doing with kits. Oh, see, she's got beautiful colors. She's got really pretty colors. Look at this one down here, the mosaic. Northwest. Oh, look at that. They're all really nice color palettes. So it's like, you know, it's like when you find a designer that you really like and you love their colors and the colors sing for you, just like Susan's doing. I mean, you have to just go with it because you know it's going to be a home run. Susan, I love your colors the best, the best, best, best. So, all right, let's see. Now we've got back to my group, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. Now, I had to drive Helena crazy a little bit because she posted this, and I saw it and I went, whoa, look at that. Again, color for me is everything. And I love things that are whimsical and childlike and sort of have a fairy tale quality. So I saw this and my heart started hammering. A small whimsical punch display used with miniature metal punch needle and colonial knots for inside the wheels. So I looked at this and I thought, wow, another amazing simple design, but look at the colors. It just, I mean, it's like, it reminds me of Easter, but more specifically, it reminds me of those little sugar eggs that have all this crazy frosting color around them. And when you look inside, you think nothing can be prettier than this little Fabergé looking sugar egg. And you look inside and there's like a world in there that is brighter than a kaleidoscope, that's filled with color. And there's always little sugar characters sitting places. And it's an impossible tiny world of color. That's what I felt and thought when I looked at this little piece. I loved it, and I loved the chick. I loved that it was not a peeps color, a pink, a yellow, a bright blue. It's like orange and ochre. Wacky. I thought that is just wacky. How can that be? But that's my favorite part. I love the stripy shirt. I love the pink in the ear of the rabbit. I love the way his ear is down. Again, another cute little rabbit with a demure, soft little look, holding these blue reins. The cart looks beautiful. The wagon wheels, beautiful. The flowers in the box, everything's beautiful. But I love that chick. I love the color change in that chick. He's completely unexpected. So I said to Helena, what else have you done? And can I see something else that you've done because I love your colors? And she said, sure. She sent me the thing that's her, over here, whatever you call it, like your face thing for Facebook. And this is it. It's like a fracture angel, right? Like a pen Dutch fracture angel. Fracture is like any kind of decorated document. It's something that by definition has to have words, you know, like a marriage certificate or a birth certificate or something like that. So this is a fracture style design, but it also kind of crosses with graveyard art, like, you know, the kind of angels that you would see on a beautiful old colonial era stone. And I just couldn't believe how pretty this was. Again, color. So this is a small piece that she punched and mounted onto wood. People do this a lot with cutting boards and boxes. You make something small, you cut it out, you tuck it under, and you glue it or fix it onto something permanently. This is so, so pretty, Helena. Again, the colors. And I have to say this, I hope it's okay that I said this out loud on camera, Helena, because I wrote to you, as you know, and I said, your colors, I just don't know how you're choosing your colors. Everything is magical to me. That this angel with the golden hair and the wings that are kind of this flesh color, I've never seen that. The flesh color is in one of the fracture flowers. But then you've got like a corally strawberry color, and then you've got like a cranberry color, and on the other side, it's like you've got this cornflower blue and this grapey grape and this tangerine orange. Where are you getting these colors from? How are you choosing them? And she said, well, the funny thing is I'm colorblind, which is extremely rare in women. But she said, I am, so I hardly ever know what colors I'm doing. And I thought, you know what can you say to that? That you have got a card up your sleeve, and nobody else has it, and it is working wonders for you. If that is the reason your colors are amazing, I cannot even sort of aspire to figuring it out or cracking your code for how you get this kind of color combination, because I don't have that same situation. So I'm guessing I'm just going to have to hope for the best, and that I sometimes make unexpected color choices that are this successful, but I don't think I can. You can, but I don't think I can. I absolutely love your colors. The best I can do is try to think of things that I could do using colors that you've used in pieces like this, because again, colors that I would never put together normally, but when you do and you go, oh my God, look at this thing. Beautiful composition too, with the angel and the two sort of trees curling and hugging the shape of the angel with these two beautiful, colorful flowers on top. I just love it. I can't wait to see what else you post, and I know it's going to be colorful, and I will continue to be terribly jealous, because I've never thought of any of the color palettes that you've used so far. I've never even thought of them, never mind attempted. So really well done, Helena. I'm so glad that you found the group, and I'm so glad that you're posting, because I want to see everything that you do, always. Next rug, this is Sarah Adams. This is her first rug. Again, it's like, what is going on? There's so much talent out there. Sarah, this is so pretty. People loved this rug too. This is such a great design. It has that, I probably talk about cave facet too much, but his circles, concentric circles within circles within circles and shapes, it has some of that, but it also has at least as much Klimt to it. Maybe because of the silhouette, maybe because of the movement of the trees. It has such a combination of classic art, beautiful, colorful, modern art, but then it has this jewel-like color palette, like beautiful stained glass window color palette. It's a limited color palette, and she wrote, I'm not sure I like the yellow, but everybody else liked the yellow. The yellow really, I think, works really well with this. It looks like it's a super crazy colorful rug, but it's not. She's really contained the sort of the lights, the grays, the whites, the off-whites, the purple, the pink, the greens, the red, the yellow. It's not like every color in the world is in here. And I think that's working for it, because it is a busy composition. The fact that it reads as well as it does is because the colors are really working. You've got a lot of complementary colors, and I think the reason people kept saying, no, keep the yellow, is because it's really complementing the purple, and the purple's right smack in the middle. The green is complementing the purple, and then you've got this red mountain in the distance it looks like a mountain ledge kind of a thing. Beautiful, beautiful color choice, unexpected, and then the yellow is really popping everything. Having the repeat of the shapes in the sky and on the ground is a great design device. You've got a very strong central element, and that is the tree. And in the background of the tree, you've got very simple lines that represent sort of ground, hill, mountain. And with those lines comes height and distance. And they're very soft shapes. They're very simple shapes. They're not shapes that you had to overwork and confuse. They sit perfectly behind the tree. And the tree being in silhouette is very mysterious. Very, very, very good. Very good. Again, a nice stained glass quality. There's a lot of the same tonal value going on with the three colors, the green, the purple, and the red. That is very good, because that allows the tree to look as mysterious as it does against those three, and it allows it to really show up against that sky. It makes you think, again, early morning or late at night, because it's so bright. But having those three middle colors, red, purple, green, being the same sort of tonal value, kind of like a medium dark, it's really helping. It's creating interest in the background. It's creating atmosphere and mood, and it's not taking away from the composition. If you had chosen to make any of those light, medium, dark, that kind of thing before you hit the sky, then all of the shapes that you put in the foreground, that whole millefiori kind of confetti of flower shapes, that would have been lost and confused. The fact that you used 3 colors that were similar, and all of those shapes got to sit against those colors and really be highlighted and individually pop, is what makes this successful. You have to be so careful with busy compositions about making sure that the things that you want to show, like the tree and the design motif of all the flowers, you have to make sure that you set it up for success. And in this case, Sarah completely set it up for success. It's very, very, very dark, and it really shows up against it like 1,000 colorful fireflies, but then the bright sky at the top is very hopeful, and it really adds to the mystery of the tree with its reaching dark branches. It gives you lots of things to think about, lots of things to look at. It's a beautiful composition. It's a fantastic first rug. You really did a beautiful job, so congratulations. I love it. Now this came up again in my group, Rug Hooking Punch Needle Club, and okay, let me get this a little bit bigger. I jumped on this one as soon as it got posted too. I just went nuts when I saw this. So this is Magby Viscano Green, and she writes, this is Hidden in the Green, and she writes, Hidden in the Green by Crow Hill Primitives. All the hooking is done. It's already steamed. Now I need to finish the edges. And she says, how should I finish it? This is 25 by 42. I use strips of wool that are 8, 7, and some 9s, and I also used wool yarns. I truly love the look. Enjoy. It's hard to not enjoy this. This is just a fantastic. My teeth were gritted right there because I mean it so much. Fantastic primitive. This is an amazing design. As you can imagine, people love this. There's a lot to say here. Everything is good. Talk about mystery again. Very, very mysterious looking color, because it's very dark, and because it's dark, you get the hidden part becomes important. All of these creatures hidden in the darkness. The white owl really stands out under the light of the moon and the light of the stars, which I love how bright they are. I love how bright you kept the stars. It looks like they're glowing, just luminescent, glowing. But underneath them, look at the flowers, the oversized flowers, the leaves, the oak leaves around the owl. Look at the owl's eyes, how perfect they are, and his little nose. Again, just a little bit of detail, and you get so much expression. Look at the way Magby's sort of circled, articulated the wing of the owl, and a little bit darker. Very simple, but very successful. His little legs clinging onto the branch. The veins on the stems of the oak leaves, a little bit lighter than the rest of the leaf, but not crazy and in your face. Perfect. Acorns, those simple acorns hanging off of those branches. Everything going on in the background, including when your eye finds hidden in the garden this bluebird, right, against the dark sky. It's so exciting to find him, right? His belly has like a greenish blue glow, and his back is a little bit brighter blue in the starlight, and really exciting. He's sitting on a limb or a leaf that looks like a multicolored kind of a plaid. Exciting changes of color. Look in here where my cursor is. Exciting changes of color. Classic primitive movement in a primitive rug. Classic. Unexpected, right? This looks like patterned wool too, like a checker or something, red and white. Really beautiful. And then you've got your simple animals, the cat and the dog. The owl is up in his tree looking very ornery, but then you've got the dog who looks a little agitated by the owl. He looks like he's jumping up a little bit and maybe ready to bark. Very simple shape, really successful. And then the cat over here kind of outlined, which I really like because the stars are shining right on him, so he would be glowing a little bit. I love the highlights in him. I love the simple shape of him. And this beautiful house, it really is such a solid house. The house, the color of the house is so cheerful, and it's working really well in a composition called Hidden in the Garden that is quite dark with lots of hidden things for your eye to find. Having that cheerful looking house is like a little rescue. You know, it's like there's something bright and cheerful in the center. If it's wild and dark and mysterious around the house, that's the feel of this rug. But then the center of the rug is anchored by this bright, cheerful yellow house. You feel safe again. So it brings you right back to the center. And then when your eye wanders around the edges again, you're lost in the mystery of the night and all these night creatures and night leaves and vines wrapping and winding and stretching. It's a really interesting composition. I also love how on the side building or on the L or whatever this little addition is, you've got some stripies going on. Like there's a different construction element, like a beam kind of a thing going on. I like the way you outlined the windows too with the thinner black. It's just enough. It's just enough. It's very, very nice. I love the movement in the roof, that you didn't go directional up and down, side to side. I love that it's just unexpected, you know, movement. I like that it's not rigid because it really mimics what's going on in the sky, and it really works together. It makes your eyes search, and that's what this pattern is about. It wouldn't be called Hidden in the Garden if it was like everything was bright and perfectly pink and shaped and colorful and shaded. Your eye is wandering from thing to thing, and it gives it the mystery that I think this pattern deserves. This is just a beautiful piece. It's so different. This is what a primitive rug really needs to look like. I mean, if you can achieve this, you're there. Even down here, I just noticed these changes of color here, so different. It really is just like a rug that's 100 or 150 years older than this. Really, really beautiful, colorful, mysterious, and really well done. So let's look at where Magby's found this. So it was a little bit hard for me to find this. It's actually, the page is called Mavis Butterfield on Etsy. So it's primitive folk art, but her name is Mavis Butterfield. So if you search for her, this is the piece here. And I like the one we just looked at even better. Right, this is like a different one. So let's see what else she's selling, just so we know. She's selling lots of nice things that are interesting for hookers. Lots of wool, hooked rugs, pillows, wool flowers, bundles, patterns, kits, make-dos, ornaments, garden markers. So lots of interesting things. I'm going to just look at the hooked rugs. Real pretty. Look at that. Really pretty. Beautiful primitive stuff. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. So she's selling some finished rugs. She's selling a lot of patterns. She's selling a lot of everything. Let's see what garden markers are. I don't know garden. Oh, okay. Those are real nice. Those are not rug hooking. Why should they be? They're for the garden. But man, I think I'm going to get some of those. It will be spring eventually, right? Garden markers, ornaments. Oh, she's got some beautiful stuff. So she's got some ceramic stuff. She's got backing material too. She's got her linen that she sells. She's got kits. Okay, so she's got some good smaller kits too. That's real pretty. There's a lot of real pretty stuff here too. Very primitive. Look at how nice and different this is. The flower, sort of the comey top on it. So that is it for tonight. I'm going to do the outro, and I will see you for the next one. But I'll do an outro and I'll walk you out.
Well, I hope you enjoyed looking at those rugs. I think it was a great episode. I loved everything that we saw together. So nice to see new people posting things and such brilliant, ingenious work, intuitive, lovely colors and designs. And it's fun to find the patterns in the stores in case you like those same patterns and you'd like to try the same rugs. I hope it was a fun episode for you. We'll try to shoot one next week for Thanksgiving. It would be nice to do kind of a Thanksgiving episode. So I will see you soon with the next rug review.